The Walt Disney Company created a legacy that's been recognized around the world for decades, and that all started with Walt Disney. Helping us understand Disney World's wide influence is our first guest, Andrew Locke. He is the author of several marketing books, including Big Lessons from Big Brands. And Andrew also authored the book Walt Disney's Way and is one of the world's top Disney experts, giving hundreds of presentations on it around the world. Thank you for coming on The Why.
Oh, my pleasure.
So let's just start off with this. You know, why do many people of really all ages around the world enjoy Disney, whether it's the movies or theme parks?
Well, it all started with one man and a mouse. It really did. And Walt's big imagination and a massive dream that was bigger than anyone else really thought of doing in the entertainment industry. And so he really set the precedent for everything that followed. He was careful about every little detail all throughout his life, since it was in the latter part of his career that he created Disneyland. But when he first launched it, it was his favorite place. In fact, he even built a little apartment there.
Oh, wow. I mean, how did Walt Disney's vision, which you mentioned was, so massive and really, truly one of a kind at that time of theme parks and animation studios come to life? And how was it successful, really?
Well, a couple of things happened. Walt originally was at a park, Griffith Park in LA, with his daughters, and he was sitting on a little bench and thinking to himself, how great it would be to have somewhere that they could play that was very clean and that families could also enjoy together. So that's the part of the story that most people know. But the part that most people don't know is the fact that Walt also took a vacation to Europe, to Denmark. And in Copenhagen, he stumbled across a place called Tivoli Gardens. And it was really Tivoli Gardens that gave him the inspiration for Disneyland. And in fact, if you go there today, it's still there. People would, or in fact, most Americans would say, oh, this is just like Disneyland. But actually, it goes back 100 years before Disneyland.
Oh, wow. So that was the inspiration that has caused, this growth that we now see as this massive enterprise. I mean, in many of the articles that I read, which included one by Forbes, I found one thing that many guests appreciate about the Disney parks is cleanliness. You mentioned, somewhere clean, and that was something that was mentioned. Can you expand on how that factor sets Disney parks maybe apart from other ones?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a huge factor. In fact, every day, cast members at the exit to the Disney parks do surveys. And one of the questions they ask is, what was the most memorable part of your day? And interestingly, the #1 answer is the cleanliness. People don't mention the rides or the shows, the attractions, of course, which are amazing, but you can get those at other theme parks. But the thing that really sets Disney apart, that makes a big impact on everybody, is the cleanliness. And again, that started with Walt. In fact, he used to do some really quirky things. One of the things that he did was he would but he was given a hot dog stand. And each day he would walk in a different direction. And just at the point where he had finished eating his hot dog, he would look around to see if there was a trash can anywhere nearby. And if there wasn't, he would have one installed. And that little exercise led to them creating or installing trash cans about every 34 steps around the park.
I read an article in which you discussed a moment when Walt Disney wanted to build a pathway to the castle at Disneyland so that people could walk versus building a fence over the grass, as one employee suggested. Can you tell me about Walt and his vision to get the experience right for guests?
Well, that is a great story that really illustrates how Walt thought about the process of who he was serving, and a lot of businesses lose sight of that these days, I should say. What happened was a gardener came up to Walt not long after Disneyland first opened, and all in a panic, and he said, "Walt," he said, the guests are trampling over the gardens to take a photo of the castle, of the Disneyland castle and Sleeping Beauty castle, and he said, we need to put up a fence, to stop people doing that. And without a moment's hesitation, Walt said, oh, no. He said, the guests are absolutely right. That is a great place to take a photo. Let's put a pathway in there. So you see, in that situation, the gardener was so focused, so blinkered as we would say in England, by his job, which was to create these beautiful manicured gardens. And he'd done a great job, right. But he lost sight of the bigger picture, which was that the whole thing was to serve guests. So Walt always realized that. And that's one of the other reasons for the success of the Disney parks, because they always have that focus on, is this going to serve the guest? Whereas many companies today make that mistake of, they think, how is this going to make our lives easier?
The Disney company now owns many networks and owns a good share of movies shown on Disney Plus. Why has the Disney business model been able to expand and be successful? Can you wrap it up for our viewers in like 30 seconds? Yeah, sure.
Well, to this day, the company often asks the question, what would Walt do? And after Walt died, they were floundering for a little bit because they literally weren't sure. But then when someone said, what would Walt do? Everything slotted into place because he really did set the precedent and the pattern for all business decisions.
Just bring it back to the OG person. Andrew Locke, author of Walt Disney's Way. Thank you for your insight. We appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure.